Have you ever done everything right for your health, eating more vegetables, cutting back on junk food, yet still felt more tired, more swollen, or watched your kidney numbers quietly get worse? I'm Dr. Mark Ellis, and I need to tell you something urgent, because for many adults, over 61 of the most trusted healthy vegetables on the dinner table may be silently putting dangerous pressure on the kidneys without causing pain, without warning, and without obvious symptoms. This isn't about scare tactics. This is about reality. I've seen patients who believed they were protecting their bodies only to discover months later that their kidney function had declined faster than expected. Not from sugar, not from meat, but from the way a common vegetable was being consumed every single day. And by the time the blood test revealed the truth, the damage was already hard to reverse. That's why in this video, I'm going to walk you through 3 critical mistakes people make with cabbage after age 60, mistakes that can overload the kidneys, interfere with heart medications, and quietly raise the risk of serious complications. More importantly, I'll show you exactly how to fix them so this same food can support your body instead of working against it. Because when it comes to kidney health, it's not just what you eat, it's how you eat it. And that distinction can make all the difference. Let's start with the first and most common mistake I see in people over 60 drinking bottled cabbage juice or heat-processed cabbage extracts, believing they're doing something extra healthy for their body. On the surface, it sounds logical. Cabbage is good for digestion, it's gentle on the stomach, and it's often recommended in traditional diets. So when it's turned into a juice, many people assume it must be even better, more concentrated, more powerful, more healing. But this is where good intentions quietly turn into risk. I remember a patient in his early 60s who told me, "Doctor, I don't understand it. I cut out red meat, I drink cabbage juice every morning, and I still feel heavier and more tired than before." His lab results showed something important. His kidney filtration rate had dropped faster than expected. Not dramatically, not suddenly, just enough to matter. And when we traced his daily habits, the one constant was that bottled cabbage juice every single morning on an empty stomach. Here's what most people are never told. Nearly all bottled cabbage juices on the market are made using high heat or aggressive processing to extend shelf life. And that heat destroys the very compounds that make cabbage protective in the first place: vitamin U, vitamin C, and several natural antioxidants. What's left behind isn't a healing drink. It's a concentrated liquid carrying minerals and sugars without the natural fiber that normally slows absorption. Fiber is not just extra. Fiber is the brake system. When you eat whole cabbage, fiber forces minerals like potassium to enter the bloodstream gradually. But when cabbage is stripped down into juice, those minerals rush into the blood all at once. For a younger person with strong kidneys, that surge is usually manageable. For aging kidneys, it's a very different story. According to clinical nutrition research, aging kidneys can lose up to 1% of filtration capacity per year after midlife. That means the margin for error shrinks quietly over time. When large mineral loads arrive suddenly, especially in liquid form, the kidneys have to work harder to maintain balance. Over weeks and months, that repeated stress adds up. And here's the part that confuses people. This doesn't feel dangerous at first. There's no sharp pain, no warning signal. Instead, people notice subtle changes, mild swelling in the ankles, feeling unusually fatigued, blood pressure that becomes harder to control, or a sense of heaviness after meals. Most assume it's just aging, but in reality, it's often overload, not age. Now pause for a moment and ask yourself honestly, have you ever added a healthy drink to your routine and never questioned whether your body could still process it the same way it did 10 or 20 years ago? If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. And yes, I read every comment. Here's the key point I want you to remember. Cabbage itself is not the enemy. The problem is concentration without context. When fiber is removed and heat destroys protective compounds, what remains is a liquid that aging kidneys were never designed to handle daily. So what's the smarter approach? Whole cabbage. Lightly cooked, small portions, let digestion do its job slowly. And if juice is ever used, it should be fresh, low temperature, and occasional, not a daily ritual, and never on an empty stomach for older adults. Because kidney health isn't about extremes. It's about respecting limits, especially the limits that quietly change with age. But knowing this alone is not enough. Because for many people, the next mistake is even more dangerous, and it has nothing to do with juice at all. Now, if you thought the first mistake was risky, this second one is far more subtle and far more overlooked. Because it doesn't start in the kidneys, it starts in a small gland in your neck that quietly controls how fast your entire body works. I'm talking about eating raw cabbage when the thyroid is already weakened, something I see constantly in adults over 50, especially women who believe raw vegetables automatically mean clean eating. Salads, greens, smoothies, raw slaws, all done with the best intentions. But intentions don't protect hormones. I once spoke with a woman in her late 50s who told me she was doing everything right. She ate mostly vegetables, avoided processed foods, and added raw cabbage to her meals almost every day. Yet she felt cold all the time. Her weight crept up even though she was eating less. Her energy was gone by mid-afternoon, and her thyroid medication didn't seem to be helping anymore. She assumed it was aging. It wasn't. Here's what most people are never told. Raw cabbage contains natural compounds called goitrogens. These substances interfere with the body's ability to absorb iodine, the key mineral your thyroid needs to produce hormones. Without enough thyroid, hormone metabolism slows, circulation weakens, fluid balance shifts, and kidney function quietly suffers as a downstream effect. From a scientific perspective, this matters more with age. Studies show that subclinical hypothyroidism becomes significantly more common after age 50, and even mild thyroid suppression can reduce metabolic rate, impair fluid regulation, and increase cardiovascular strain. When goitrogens are consumed regularly in raw form, they add friction to a system that's already struggling. And here's the trap. People don't feel this immediately. There's no dramatic symptom. Instead, there's slow weight gain, persistent fatigue, brain fog, constipation, swelling, and a sense that the body just isn't responding the way it used to. Many people blame their medication. Others blame themselves. But the real issue is often sitting right there on the plate. Now pause for a second and be honest with yourself. Have you ever thought raw must be better without asking whether your body can still handle it the same way it once did? If so, you're not alone. And yes, I want you to comment below if this sounds familiar. Here's the critical distinction that changes everything. Goitrogens are heat sensitive. Just 1 to 2 minutes of light steaming or blanching dramatically reduces their activity while still preserving most of cabbage's beneficial compounds. This isn't about giving up cabbage. It's about making it compatible with an aging endocrine system. Think of it this way. Raw cabbage may be fine for a young, resilient body, but for a body managing hormonal shifts, medications, and slower metabolism, lightly cooked cabbage is no longer a compromise, it's protection. And when the thyroid regains stability, everything downstream improves, energy comes back, digestion becomes more predictable, fluid balance improves. And yes, the kidneys feel that relief too. But even this is not the most dangerous mistake, because the final issue involves something far more immediate, something that can override medication itself and change outcomes in a matter of moments. And now we come to the third mistake, the one that worries me the most. Because unlike the first two, this one doesn't take months or years to cause harm. In some cases, it only takes a single habit repeated quietly in the background while everything looks under control. This mistake happens when people regularly eat large amounts of cabbage, especially in juice or concentrated form, while taking heart medications or blood thinners. Aspirin, warfarin, anticoagulants prescribed for high blood pressure, atrial fibrillation, prior stroke, or heart disease, medications designed to save lives. I still remember a patient who told me, "Doctor, I never missed a dose. I did exactly what my cardiologist told me." And that was true. His medication schedule was perfect. But he had also started drinking green vegetable juices every day, convinced he was supporting his heart naturally. What no one had explained to him was that one of those vegetables, cabbage, was quietly working against the medication meant to protect him. Here's the science behind it, and it's not complicated. Cabbage is extremely high in vitamin K. Vitamin K's role in the body is to help blood clot. That's useful when you're bleeding. But blood-thinning medications work by doing the opposite. They reduce clot formation so blood can flow freely through aging vessels. When large amounts of vitamin K enter the bloodstream consistently, especially in concentrated liquid form, they can directly counteract the effect of blood thinners. It's like pressing the brake and the gas at the same time. The medication tries to thin the blood. The vitamin K pushes it toward clotting. Clinical data shows that fluctuations in vitamin K intake are one of the most common reasons blood thinner therapy becomes unstable. And unstable anticoagulation dramatically increases the risk of blood clot, stroke, and heart attack, particularly in older adults with already narrowed or stiffened arteries. What makes this especially dangerous is how silent it is. People feel fine. Blood pressure seems controlled. Life goes on. Until suddenly there's a clot, a stroke, a cardiac emergency that appears to come out of nowhere, even though the warning signs were quietly building every day. Now let me be very clear. This does not mean you must fear cabbage forever. The danger isn't the vegetable, it's the dose, the form, and the timing. Whole cabbage lightly cooked in small portions, spaced away from medication, is very different from daily green juices or concentrated servings consumed without guidance. But here's the hard truth. If you're taking heart medication or blood thinners and no one has ever talked to you about vitamin K intake, you are operating with incomplete information. And incomplete information can be just as dangerous as no information at all. So ask yourself this: are you adding healthy foods to your routine without considering how they interact with the medications keeping you alive? If that question makes you pause, that pause matters. Because knowing these three mistakes changes everything. But knowing them is still not the final step. The real power comes from understanding how to eat smarter, not less, and how small adjustments can dramatically reduce risk without giving up the foods you enjoy. But just knowing this still isn't enough. Because there's one final principle that determines whether these changes truly protect your kidneys and heart in the long run. If you've stayed with me this far, I want you to know something first. You're already doing the most important thing for your health, and that is paying attention. Getting older does not mean losing control over your body. It simply means the rules change, and those who learn the new rules early give themselves a much better chance to stay independent, clear-minded, and strong for years to come. None of what we talked about today is meant to scare you or take foods away from your life. It's meant to give you clarity. Because when you understand how your kidneys, hormones, and medications interact, small adjustments can prevent very big problems. You don't need extreme diets. You don't need expensive supplements. You just need the right knowledge at the right time. If this video helped you see your daily habits a little differently, I strongly encourage you to save this video. Come back to it. Share it with a spouse, a parent, or a friend who may be taking heart medication or worrying about kidney health. Sometimes one saved video can quietly protect an entire family. And if you want to keep receiving clear science-based medical guidance about kidney health, heart safety, and aging, well, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Every week, I share practical, up-to-date medical insights designed to help you make smarter decisions before problems become diagnoses. Remember this: your kidneys are remarkably resilient when they're respected. With the right habits, the right timing, and the right understanding, it is absolutely possible to slow decline, regain balance, and move forward with confidence. Your health journey doesn't end here. In many ways, this is where it truly begins.